Hello, everyone, and welcome to a musical episode of Lesbian Talk. So, honey, sing the whole episode. Sing.
I can't sing at all.
So, what are we talking about this time?
We are musically talking about musicals. Musically.
Yes, first half of the episode is going to be all about musical films, or stage shows, I suppose, because we never discussed that, I don't think. And
We haven't, that's true.
the second half is going to be discussing Last Christmas, which is, strangely enough, aired last Christmas.
Did you give me your heart and then the very next day I threw it away?
I hope not, because I'm wondering what's in my chest right now. Then
But this year, to sit, no.
you stuck a turkey in there, didn't you?
I really wanted them to end up singing that at some point. It didn't happen.
I didn't even know it was a song.
Yeah, it's a song by Wham. It's like one of their, I think, only famous songs. You've never heard that song?
Well, when you say Wham, I think I remember it now.
It's just like one of those Christmas songs that's like everywhere.
But musicals. Well, Omega is a big fan of I Swear I'm Not Gay, the George Michael and Wham story.
What?
I just made up a Wham musical based on
Oh.
George Michael's, claim he's not gay for most of his life.
Well, the thing is that like a lot of people have said to me, "Well, which musicals do you like?" And I'm like, "I'm not that kind of gay. I'm not a musical gay," which is the absolute truth. Because when Rent the movie first came out on DVD, I was working in the music department at the store, and the music manager was like, "Oh my gosh, Rent the musical's out on DVD! Wow, oh, things and stuff was so great." I was like, "I've never seen it, the movie or the musical." And they were like, "What? I can't believe it. You've never seen Rent?" And I was like, "No, I've never seen Rent. It just never came up. You've heard the soundtrack, right?" No, I've never heard the soundtrack. And they're like, "Oh, but you'd love it." And I was like, "From what I've heard, it's basically like AIDS, the musical." And
That's
the
why
music
Team
manager,
America had the parody
yeah,
of it.
yeah, I think that's where I got that idea from. And then the music manager was like, "No, it's not. It's like about life and happiness." And like, so it's like what the lighter side of AIDS. And she's like, You just don't understand." I was like, "Maybe I don't."
I'm pretty sure Showgirls summed it
It's
up.
the lighter side of AIDS.
Well, Showgirls summed it up with the line, Man, everyone got AIDS and shit." I think
Yeah,
that's
and like somebody dies and no one ever ends up paying rent apparently, which is stupid because I have to pay rent every month when I live in a flat, or else I'll get evicted because that's how that
Well,
ends.
they saved all the money they would have spent on rent, and they used it to put on a musical.
Oh, yeah, okay. Well, that sounds like something New Yorkers would do.
Well, in 1983, 19 sorry, in 1934, there is a musical called The Gay Divorcee, and I'm just thinking that should totally be remade today.
What did you call it?
It's called The Gay Divorcee.
Oh my God, you live right next to France. Divorcee.
Meh.
I'm a divorcee. How are you?
And I'm Northern Irish, so half of the way that we pronounce
Ugh,
words that are different from you,
ugh,
you say we sound like rednecks.
the divorcee.
That would be such a good thing to remake. I don't even know what it's about. I'm guessing it's about this guy who's got divorced and is happy now. But just imagine this one. It's like this gay guy who gets divorced and is happy now because he's running around and being happy. It'd be great.
I guess. So, what's your favorite musical?
Um, I'm gonna play it safe and go for some boil in the bag middle class perversion with Rocky Horror.
I knew you were going to say that too. I knew you were.
Like I said, playing it safe. I'm not a
I
massive musical
can't.
fan.
I can't just. I mean, there's a few that I like. Of those few, I'm trying to think of favorite. I guess Phantom of the Opera. I was into Phantom and Les Mis in high school because this girl that I mooned over for years and years and years, she was like all into like the Christine paradigm, kind of crazy, but also really really gifted singer because she imagined she was a really really gifted singer, and yet still has that whole gothy kind of dying of some kind of horrible illness kind of thing going on, even though Christine didn't.
I was sure it was going to be Sergeant Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band
No, I've only seen a review of that.
or
Never
Grease
actually
2.
seen it. Well, I like Avenue Q. I think that's pretty good. It's very clever.
Has that been turned into a film or is that just stage?
No, I don't think it's been turned into a film. A friend of mine, my dear friend Sam, we would always like go to concerts, but then we'd end up driving like epic hours to get there. And he's like, "Oh my gosh, you need to hear this musical soundtrack." I was like, I'm not into musicals." He's like, "No, it's like Sesame Street versus like Meet the Feebles," and I listened to it the whole way to the place we were going, and I agreed, and I bought the
So
soundtrack.
it's Meet the Feebles, but lighter and softer.
Yeah, and more edgy,
No, Meet the Feebles is
less.
incredibly edgy.
Yeah, and like the back in the day, it's
Mm,
not really now. It's just kind of weird. It's like one of those like artifacts of. It's one of those like pub quiz questions that you pull out to look smart in front of your friends. Like You want to know what Peter Jackson did? It involves the words nasal sax.
Wow, I've never seen it, Avenue Q. I'm just finding it really hard to believe that it's more edgy than Meet the Feebles, but
I think that
I
it
will
is.
take your word for it then.
If you guys agree with me, put in the comments. But also, even though I've never seen it, I only have the soundtrack, the Book of Mormon. That's pretty clever.
I'd quite like to see that.
I would too. It was in an off Broadway production was in Philadelphia. This was like right after I left to come here. I told my parents they should go see it.
I've seen live musicals apart from going to see, pantomimes or whatever. I have seen Joseph and His Technicolor Dreamcoat, and I've seen Blood Brothers.
Hmm. Is that about vampires?
I went to see that. I was like an 11-year-old, and I was sure it was going to be about vampires. And when I discovered it was about these two brothers who became best friends and blood brothers, who then later discovered they were actually brothers, but one was a criminal and one was like a local government guy. And then they both got shot at the end. It was like, I wanted vampires, motherfuckers.
There's a Sabat bloodline called the Blood Brothers.
See, it should have been about
Right.
Sabat.
Trying to think of. I've been in musicals before. I was in a production of Mary Poppins in summer camp.
Who did
I
you
played
play?
I played Mr. Dawes.
Mr. Dulles?
Mr. Dawes. He's one of the bank board of directors. They have a song. I mean, it's
Oh,
not in the movie, but the musical they have a song, which meant I got to cross dress in a full suit with a little pencil drawn mustache drawn on me, and then it also meant that I was part of the chorus scenes as passersby, and like there's some men standing around when we're. I don't know what we were supposed to be doing. I think we were supposed to be doing some kind of like lighthearted. I don't know what era was that? It was after. What was the one that comes after Victorian?
Edwardian.
Yes.
In the UK, the woman was a suffragette and she was seeking votes. Now, the votes for women came in the UK, I believe, in the 1920s. So, I'm guessing pre-World War One for Mary Poppins.
Yeah. Okay. So it's like some kind of like a group of Edwardian gentlemen would amuse themselves in a park, but I thought it looked like we were shooting craps. But that's what we did during some of the crowd scenes, and I had like some incidental lines that were part of the chorus because I wasn't technically chorus. I was chorus plus. Thank you very much. Yeah, but I can't sing very well, so it was kind of the thing that like because it was summer camp, as long as you had the look and you had enough stage presence, it didn't really matter if you could sing.
Well, yeah, that's what Rex Harrison did for his whole career.
I like Rex Harrison.
Yeah, but he didn't sing.
Oh shit, I forgot. I like some of the innocent musicals too. Because okay, I take it back. My favorite musical as a child was My Fair Lady because we saw the movie. I need to get that on DVD. I bet I can download it somewhere for free. I mean, nothing. I bet I can find it on Amazon real cheap. But yeah, I love that. I love that musical because it had a happy ending. Because everyone got their comeuppance who was a prick, and then they were not prickish. And I liked Camelot, but I don't like that it has a depressing ending.
What about Spamalot?
I haven't seen it, but I kind of always wanted to.
I kind of want Eric Idle to adapt Life of Brian into a stage show and use his original title for it.
What was his original title for
Well, see, Life of Brian grew out of an interview that Eric Idle did when they were asked about what's your next film going to be, and he joked, "Jesus Christ, Lust for Glory."
it?
And so apparently for like 2 seconds, Life of Brian was going to be about Jesus before they decided to change it. And like, they should just do a play called that.
I mean, it wasn't Neil Patrick Harris was in Spamalot for a while, was he not?
Well, he's in every musical, so probably.
By law, he must be in every musical.
Tim Curry was in it for a while.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
You,
See, I do. I like the ones. I like Defying Gravity from the Wicked musical, but I've never seen the musical, and the reason for that is that when I first started 10 years ago, when I first started at the store, Wicked had just come out in hardcover, and that was the first book that I borrowed. Because we had this thing where you could borrow a book, you have to take off the dust jacket, leave it with the manager, and you have to sign a book, sign your name in the thing, and you could borrow the book for 2 weeks. And I read it, and the thing is about Maguire is he's a good world builder. I'll give him that, and he's very good at creating characters with very realistic character flaws. But their character flaws became all that they were. You couldn't empathize with any of his characters, and I slogged through that book because I wanted to know what was going to happen in the world. Like I knew the witch was going to die because obviously, spoilers, everybody knows that. And then I pushed through Son of a Witch and I started Lion Among Men, but oh god, I just couldn't do it. If you finish that whole series, write the show because and I know that that Wicked the musical does have a slightly different ending than Wicked the book. But I just, although I do love that Defying Gravity song.
I don't know if this counts as a musical or not, but I do have a DVD copy of Jerry Springer the Opera.
Psh.
Because, Britain likes to take these sort of really ridiculous sort of things and turn them into proper highbrow operas.
Was he involved, Jerry Springer?
Nope. Basic.
I mean, I'm assuming he didn't sue. Like,
No. Basically, Stuart Lee, who's a comedy writer, he worked with some guy who I think has a background in classical music, and they wrote an opera based on Jerry Springer. The first half of it is a parody of the show, where you have various groups coming, like the Clan and all, and they all like have their songs and everything. And at the very middle of it, Jerry gets shot, and the second half is him basically trying to not avoid going sent to hell. And Jesus is an adult baby, stuff like that.
well, apparently, I've heard that he's a pretty good sport about stuff. Like, he's really like that kind of I don't know why I'm famous, but whatever, gonna make the most of it kind of thing.
Yeah, pretty much. And it's the version I have. Jerry is played by David Soul from Starsky and Hutch.
Another musical that I just remembered I really like, but I really can't watch anymore, is Repo, Genetic Opera.
Why can't you watch it anymore?
Well, because when I first watched it, it'd actually be 5 years ago, coming up this in about a week or two, and I was living down in D.C. and it was just a really bad scene down there, and I downloaded the soundtrack. I had it on my iPod, and hearing any songs from Repo, it's immediately like it's 5 a.m. pre-dawn in the freezing Virginia morning, very dark, very still, and I'm smoking a Marlboro Red at the bus stop, waiting for the bus. Just my life is in ruins, and it's too bad because I really loved the movie and I really loved the soundtrack. And apparently, they did a second movie called The Devil's Carnival, which is now impossible to get on DVD. But apparently, you can find the soundtrack. You can still buy the soundtrack. But
Yeah,
and that guy's
I saw Devil's Carnival. I didn't like it so much.
I think he's just so talented, that guy. And I like that it was a very 90s goth feel, but, later than that. And I really wish, maybe someday I will get really drunk and watch it again. But yeah, I really did enjoy Repo. It was good.
Yeah, quite enjoyed Repo. Other modernish one that I find problematic, but in the same way that Rocky Horror is, but it's amusing,
Hmm.
is Hedwig.
I know that isn't that, I know, I've heard about that. Is it like, there's a guy has a very small penis,
Uh,
but he's okay with that or something?
no, 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 no. Basically,
No?
you got someone in early 80s East Germany, East Berlin, is they listened to illegal broadcasts of American rock and roll and stuff, and for some reason they fall in love with a GI who happens to be in the area. I don't know why they're in East Germany, but they are.
Just hanging out.
And
No,
so they fall in love with the GI, and the GI, in order to get for the GI to get them out of East Germany and over to America, they have to marry them. So there's physical tests are done by the East German government or something on people who marry foreigners or something like that, and so they have to have a sex change, sexual reassignment surgery. Unfortunately, it gets ruined. It goes completely wrong, and they're left with something that's the angry inch, which is very ill-defined in the actual film and play.
but was the person actually trans?
Uh, that the
Because it seems to be like,
it's an open
oh,
question because there are various interpretations. I think the most common interpretation is that were not trans, and they sort of accept that they're not trans by the end of it, but it's open.
because that sounds like an awfully horrible length to go to just to be in a gay relationship. If you're not, if you
Well,
weren't
they're
supposed to be.
also trying to escape, also trying to escape East Germany.
Yeah, that's a good point. I don't know. I've never seen it. So.
It's not a perfect. It's far from a perfect film, but it's fun, and the soundtrack is very good. And
Let's
Typo
see.
Negative covered one of their songs, and so did
Oh,
Meatloaf.
there you go. Oh, Meatloaf.
Different songs though.
See, I'm trying to think of other stuff that. I mean, for a while, I really liked musicals with just like a body count, like the depressing musicals. 'Cause I don't like Rodgers and Hammerstein stuff. It's too light and fluffy and stupid. My sister was in Pirates of Penzance in summer camp, And by that time, I was old enough that I actually worked at the summer camp, and it's just one of the stupidest musicals.
We could totally go to Penzance.
We could if we wanted to. Apparently, it like takes forever and ever to get there, at least according to Mark Steele, because he took a train down there.
No, Penzance. It's one of those places. It doesn't sound like it should be in England. It sounds like it should be in like Italy or something. Because you got Penzance. It doesn't sound English.
Maybe it was one of those places that was European for a while, because you guys traded stuff back and forth with France. Maybe some duke of somewhere or other from Europe ended up there.
Uh, Pretty sure not. No, because it was in Cornwall. It's more likely to
Oh
be
yeah,
a Cornish name that just sounds.
yeah, they get up to stuff in Cornwall. They got their own thing going on.
Yeah, Cornwall is basically the UK's California and Florida sort of rolled into one.
If you're from Cornwall, at the show.
Yes, they did, and they had a lot of piracy over there in the past.
Yeah, isn't the Cornwall accent the official pirate accent?
No, that's West
Cause
Country.
oh, okay, because that one actor who was like, I'll just put on this kind of accent, and then that became the pirate accent for evers and evers.
Yeah, in the UK, the West Country accent is basically if you want a stereotypical English rural, that's West Country.
Hmm.
But but because of this actor playing Long John Silver, it's also become the pirate accent. Although they're not quite 100% the same, but it's they're close enough.
Okay. I like people with Geordie accents. I like that. Like that one comedian who's on QI.
Ross Noble.
Yeah, I like that. He's a good accent. I met an American today.
What?
This has nothing
These
to do
these
with
are these are
musicals, but
things that this is like a mythical creature.
no, I did. I was ringing this guy up at work today, and he's like, "Oh, can I slide my card here?" And I was like, "Oh, it's a chip. You can just insert it there." And he's like, "I insert it there." I'm like, "Yeah." It's like, Where's y'all from?" He's like, "I'm from New York," and he was there with his daughter, and she goes to school out in Scranton, Pennsylvania. She's got some friends down in Philly, and I was like, "Oh, that's nice. That's nice." They're here on holiday, so
It's like American, American. Whoa!
it's like my friends.
We're all so happy. We wait a second. Wait a sec. Wait a sec. Honey, you're both since you're American and they're American. Do you know each other?
No, that's not how that works.
Oh.
No, I know, because apparently people, like if an Irish person's in America, people are like, oh, I've got a friend in Dublin. Do you know him? And they're like, yeah, I know every single person on the island of Ireland.
Yeah.
See, I mean, one of the things about musicals that there were a lot that, oh, another one that I kind of liked
Hmm.
because a friend of mine was in it in middle school was Secret Garden.
The Secret Garden.
Yeah,
I didn't realize it was a musical.
yeah, there was a musical done. And, it's really good because, they changed the story. Instead of it being the one old guy, there's two brothers, and they were rivals for the dead woman's affection. And there's a really great song called Lily's Eyes, where they're both, like, in different parts of the house, waxing eloquent about her eyes and how beautiful, and the guy's like, I miss her so much, and the other one's like, if she'd loved me, and it's kind of drastic. I like that one. There's a Jekyll and Hyde musical that I've not ever seen, but a friend did refer to me to one of their songs, the songs from it, which is good.
There is an Evil Dead musical.
Oh yeah, I used to have the soundtrack for that.
Yeah, it's a really funny soundtrack. And there's the Reanimator musical, which I've never managed to find a copy of the soundtrack for, and because only ever appears every so often. It's usually directed by Stuart Gordon, who directed the original.
All right, yeah,
And when we went to Scotland,
yeah.
we were like 3 weeks off from being able to see Reanimator the musical.
Oh yeah, I remember you were saying.
I was so upset. I was like,
Well, we'll find it eventually. Sure we'll work something out.
I want to see it.
Trying to think of some. Well, I've seen a lot of musicals just from because I had friends in theater. Like I saw Oliver. That was like the one they did when I was in sixth grade. They did a whole bunch. They did one that was called Kids on Broadway when I was, I think, in eighth grade, which wasn't really actually a musical, but it was selections from a fuck ton of different musicals. Yeah, they did Kismet one year, a whole bunch of different stuff.
I think you're a big fan of the South Park musical.
Oh yeah, well, I wasn't really counting that because that was animated, but oh yeah, I don't know if I've said it on the show before, but we went to go see it because I was like, oh, South Park, yeah, that's cool, and we didn't know it was a musical, and we were so blown away by it, we went back and saw it again the next night, and I immediately went out and got the soundtrack.
Yeah, I seem to recall because I was old enough to remember when it came out properly. I was a teenager, and we didn't know it was a musical either. It was like the trailers didn't really make this clear. Have you ever seen their first film, Cannibal the Musical?
No, but I remember you showed me clips on YouTube.
Yeah, it's based on Alfred Packer. and they made it when they were teenagers. Well, not teenagers. They were literally like 20. They'd gone into like university, and they instead of going to their classes, they went and made this film, and got kicked out of university because they wasted all their time on it. And but then Lloyd Kaufman bought the rights for it, renamed it Cannibal the Musical, and put it out in Trauma. And
Yeah, but then they ended up being them, so they got millions of dollars.
oh yeah, but just say Trauma. Sorry, Trey and Matt are two of the people who Trauma can lay claim to discovered, like James
That's
Gunn,
pretty cool.
and like a bunch of other people. That's why Lloyd turned up in Orgasmo.
Oh,
Trey Parker, I think his third film.
did you ever do any performing arts, any kind of stuff like that?
We
I
did
mean, besides having a show on the internet.
we did pantomimes when I was a kid.
Oh, that's that weird British thing.
Yes,
What part did you play?
we did one every year when I was in primary school.
Did you ever like have a really awesome part?
No, never. It's one thing I noticed. The teachers would tend to give the big parts to their favorite students, regardless of
I can't see you being a teacher's favorite. No,
yeah,
because I
regardless of
see you doing a lot of correcting of teachers, and then finally being like, "That's great, that's grand, thank you. You don't talk for the rest of the year, thank you."
yeah, regardless of people's talent or whatever, they weren't chosen on that.
What about uni?
No, I joined. It nearly happened at university, but it never did. Me and Teddy appeared in Shakespeare.
Ooh, as what?
Locally, we played the Gravediggers.
That's pretty cool. I played Lady Macbeth once during our in eighth grade. We did a huge unit on the Renaissance, and I played Lady Macbeth
My Renaissance.
because that's the historical. So you have to understand something. Like when I went to school, we didn't really concentrate on important stuff. Like usually, twice a year they'd pick some epoch of time, and that would be the part that you focused on. You would focus on it in English and social studies and everything like that. So it all was supposed to be interconnected in the curriculum. I mean, not really math, really. Nothing could do that. But so in eighth grade, it was the Renaissance. We did the Harlem Renaissance in high school, and like La Belle Epoque, which is technically just pre-war Europe, and then then the Jazz Age and stuff like that. We never covered any of the cool stuff like the wars, but I was terribly fascinated when we did the Renaissance, and because I really love Dark Ages, medieval, Renaissance, like that whole squadron of time between the fall of Rome and like the boring shit like the Reformation.
I was just confused by why they had Macbeth on during Renaissance.
Because technically, even though he's kind of off by a little, Shakespeare is considered part of the Renaissance era,
Oh,
at least by American high schools.
okay.
I bet you didn't know that, huh?
I
Well, yeah, that's why whenever you go to the Renaissance fair, like they kind of fudge stuff from like a period of a few hundred years. You have like late medieval stuff, and you have early Reformation stuff.
to
So
be
everything
fair,
kind of gets fudged.
yeah, it's America's grasp of history. I cannot wait for like 400 years time, whenever like Bermuda is ruling the world, and there's a bunch of people in Bermuda have these, American festivals of the 20th century, which have George Washington teaming up with Jamie Lee, with what do you call him, Davy Crockett to battle the Nazis.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
But anyway, honey, what did we watch this week?
We watched Last Christmas.
Last Christmas, I gave my heart. The very next day, I gave it to Santa Claus.
This explains why our marriage has failed, because Santa Claus, she gave her heart to a fictional character.
So I have to say, having seen the teaser, I was really ready to be annoyed. But that being said, I was kinda okay with the appearance of Santa Claus and his two wise talking elves. Well, the rationale given anyway. Because all through the episode, I was saying this is only going to work if it turns out he's a Time Lord, because he could be using Time Lord technology to deliver presents and everything, and that's fine. And then they were like, "Oh, well, okay. First of all, spoilers. You know the drill." They're like, "Oh, see, I'm just a construct of your dream," and I'm like, "Oh, okay, that's good. You're not real. There you go."
I am leaning towards it being the most tolerable Christmas special since A Christmas Carol.
I mean, I liked it, but the last few minutes undid the whole episode. And I was reading the comment section and an article on the Mary Sue about it, and everyone was like, "Yeah, if only Clara had actually been old at the end, that would have been really good and really bittersweet." And I was like, "Yeah, I know." Where there's like, "Oh no, she's still young. Oh, she can travel with the doctor again. The girl who lied." Like, I was so ready for her to die so many times throughout the episode. Like when she just like leans her head against Santa Claus's shoulder and she's like, just one more happy Christmas this last Christmas. I'm like, oh, she's choosing to die. Okay, I see. But no. I'm like, oh, she's old now. Oh well, too bad. Time for your companion, but no.
And they could have had the bittersweet ending and still had the Clara in the next season because they could have
Yeah.
had him being all like the
Like that he said, oh, how long's it been? She said, oh, 62 years. So something could have happened in the next season in Clara present day Clara's future that leads to a rift between them. That's 62 years until he comes back.
or even just a bit where the doctor's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I never came back," and then Clara's like, "Don't worry, you did," and it's like indicating that their adventures continue. This is just where it ends.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah, because it hasn't happened yet for him, but it already has happened for her.
Yeah,
Maybe she'll improve somewhat. Maybe like I don't know. Although I like the whole thing where he's like, Danny's dead, or Danny's still alive. She's like, no, he's dead. I lied to you. Well, why did you lie? So you get back to Gallifrey? I never found Gallifrey. I lied to you. Oh dear. But who was famous in this episode? Because you had to point them out, because I didn't realize it.
David Troughton, Patrick Troughton's younger of his two acting sons.
And you're right. You know what? He does sound a lot like his father.
He looks like his dad too, just more rotund.
Yeah.
Both of Patrick Troughton's sons who act, they look a bit they look and sound like their dad. They're just both much taller. I'm not sure. I'm guessing Patrick Troughton must have fucked an Amazon or something
Oh,
because
Jesus.
well,
He probably would have.
well, yeah, because his both of his sons are like a foot taller than him. So something he obviously has
Something recessive going on.
possibly.
That's always possible.
But my main issue with this one was it's again a series of Moffat isms put in a different order.
You know what? That's another thing that was in the comment section. Like, at least 5 people said he just reused so many of his old stories. And I was like, that's what's ours.
Yeah, he's been doing this the entire fucking time. Like this stuff. Okay, I haven't seen this in a couple of days. Just off the top of my head, the bit where the bit where the companion is put into this idealized killing with kindness sort of situation where she's having like a relationship thing going. Well, there's a time dilation thing going on, and they're trying to get her out from the outside. Donna Noble has been saved in the Forest of the Dead. The idea of a monster that kills you, but they kill you kindly, that is the Weeping Angels. It's
And actually, that's a kind of a pretty old trope, too.
yeah, but Moffat
It's older than Moffat.
Moffat's like, this is a clever idea. I'm going to keep using it over and over and over again.
But it's not, though. It's such a trope. It's, like, seriously a trope. It's an overused sci-fi trope, even before, like, he started writing for Doctor Who it was.
But Moffat doesn't care.
I like the little spunky girl. She was cool.
She was like Sarah.
Yeah, she's like Sarah, but she was not obnoxious. Because Sarah deserves a crossbow bolt between the eyes. This girl was cool. She's like, oh, I work in a shop. I just remembered. Let's all exchange phone numbers. Look me up on Facebook. Let's hang out and have a reunion drink. So I'm like, that's great. I like her.
For part of it, I was thinking that Clara and the Doctor would be the only real people in there, and the other characters were all going to be different parts of their subconscious. So then I was like, that it was very clever of them to cast Michael Troughton there, so the Doctor can point out this guy is obviously a somewhat warped version of his second incarnation. But they're like, no, and then they kill Michael Troughton off. So it's like, why? You could kill anyone off. Why? If you don't kill Michael Troughton off, he's a Troughton.
Although, one of the things that I liked a lot, because I was thinking, oh, look, it's just like aliens. And then when they're talking about it, he's like, oh, it's just like aliens. And I was like, that's really great. They're lampshading the fact that they're lampshading something. And then he's like, what do you mean aliens? And he's like, well, it's a horror movie about an alien. And he's like, no wonder people keep taking over your planet. That's offensive.
That was quite clever.
That being said, though, I did kind of like Nick Frost as Santa Claus.
No,
I like him. I think he's fun.
no, you're just
I like him, and I like Simon
fact-
Pegg. I think that they're talented.
okay. In the story, Santa Claus, they have the Santa Claus is a dream construct, all shit like that. However, they do have the tangerine at the end, which is all like, oh, is it real? Is it not real? But of course, if you've watched two Moffat Christmas specials earlier, three, A Christmas Carol, no, four. The one with first one with Matt Smith. That's where we discover that the 11th Doctor is friends with Santa Claus.
Well, the interview with Stephen Moffat that was up on the Mary Sue, he said that the only part of it that was real was the last 5 minutes. And he said that the tangerine in the shot was meant to frame the idea that it was Santa Claus who blueprinted this whole thing to get Clara and the Doctor back together. And I'm technically still fine with that as long as Santa Claus is a robot or an alien or like a Time Lord or something. As long as he is something of extraterrestrial scientific origin, I'm fine with
Well,
it.
according to Stephen Moffat in another story, that Santa Claus is the Doctor.
It's kind of stupid, but still a Time Lord.
Yeah, it's just
But yeah. So what else about this? I mean, it was. I liked the bit at the end where people woke up in their real lives, like the woman, like the elderly scientist. She wakes up and starts to get up, and then she's in a wheelchair. And then the kid's like, "Grandma, it's time for dinner." She's like, "Okay, dear."
there's the
And there was that really great. The actress did a good job. There's that really great like instant of realization in her eyes, like, oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, right. Okay.
it's definitely not bad enough for me to do a 20 Who review of, but but I could do a 20 Who review on any episode of New Who, on any episode of Classic Who. I could find shit that annoys me. One way to prove that it just, I suppose, it demonstrates how passionate I am about the show, that if it's not perfect, I get really pissed off.
You do. That's true. I was like, that's all right. You're like, no, it's not all right. It will never be all
But
right.
at least I realize there's a line between just what I find irritating and I find completely fucking terrible, if you know what I mean. So this one just doesn't cross that line. I was expecting it to be so fucking bad. So congratulations, they were better than my expectation.
I I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't say it was bad. Well, here's the thing. Peter Capaldi is such a strong actor, and literally everything he does, you can tell he throws himself into it with Doctor Who. So I always find myself saying, well, it was okay, but Peter Capaldi was great. I liked some of the things that they did in it. Like, I personally believe in what is pretty much the going scientific theory about dreams, and it has an actual name, which I memorized for my exam, but of course I can't remember it now. That the idea is that your brain always needs a narrative. We function the best when we're functioning in patterns, and your brain is not totally shut off while you're sleeping. There's autonomic functions that's going on, chemical osmosis is going on in the brain, and that dreams are basically your brain forming a narrative not to cope with the electric signals that are going on, but it's working, so it forms a narrative around that. And sometimes if you're thinking about something, if it's been in your recent memory, you can pull stuff from your recent memory, things that you have major anxieties about that are so constant in your mind that they'll get like people who have recurring nightmares, that kind of thing. So I liked that the things that existed in the dream were most of it was drawn from the fact that the one girl went to bed after watching like 5 different horror movies, like The Thing and an Alien and stuff like that. And so I like that. I like that scientific application of dreams. I like that he didn't go all sorts of fairy tale supernatural bullshit about dreams.
No, he used dreams to as an excuse to be all fairy tales bullshit as he usually is.
Yeah, but there was a reason at that point. Because if the one girl was the anchor for all of this, and she's just watched all these different horror movies, and of course they're still in recent memory, they're still in episodic memory. I'm sorry, still in working memory. That those provided a framework, because again, we think in patterns, we think in a narrative. That's why those things are like, oh well, how did you get here? It's a long story. There's a word for it, and if you know, write the show because it was I have it in my notes somewhere from my psych lectures, but the brain has this okayness about stuff in a dream. Like the other day, I had this dream where I was like, oh, that's right, I had a baby like 3 days ago. I should probably find out what happened to that child because your brain doesn't naturally question the situation that you're in. Sometimes I have dreams where I'm a guy and I'm a super spy and I'm running around on the edge of a satellite dish and this is perfectly normal to me. There's a thing that the brain does, like kind of like auto rationalizing, and I thought that was cool that got brought into it because they're like they didn't question how they got there, but they couldn't actually say how they got there, and that was cool. Sorry, that's the end of my lecture. There'll be a quiz.
There's a slight issue with the dream thing, though. If they're all connected,
Hmm.
the doctor's test should not have worked. The test where he's like, open the book. If the narrative is created by all of them, then there should have been overlapping. It's like It's like the doctor, it would be like the doctor pointing at a wall and saying, "What color is that wall?" And then they should all
Well,
see the
one
same
one
color.
problem is that one problem of that, and actually the only thing that's ever actually showcased this was an episode of Batman the Animated Series, is that you can't actually read and comprehend letters and numbers in dreams. It's a kind of thing where you could know, oh, there was a sign above me that said, "Perish all who enter here" or something like that, but you're not actually reading those words. They're just that awareness that sign is there and that's what it says in your brain. You can't actually read or comprehend numbers. At least that's what I've been told. If you know different, right, the show.
Yeah, but as interpreted by the episode, the doctor's all like, "Open a random page," and then we read the thing, and it's all different. Even if for some reason they can read something different from each other, they're speaking it aloud, so the other people should their books should have changed to fit that, and they should have rationalized it.
It's possible.
It's again Moffat. It's like, "I'm really clever," and it's like, "Oh look, there's a really obvious problem with my thing, but I'm going to ignore it." Do, 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 do.
But see, the thing that I didn't understand was, okay, so there's only a few dream crabs, so like, how did they get there? Where did they come from?
They
I
come from
mean,
Half
the
Life.
Doctor wasn't on Earth. He was like on some other planet next to the TARDIS. And then there was like a whole bunch, a handful of them on Earth. Are there more? Should we be worried about this? I mean,
Well, they come from Half Life world.
so apparently she's going to be in all next season, right?
That's what the information is now. Previously, the rumor was that she would go about episode 3 or 4.
But she's been renewed for the whole season.
Yeah, I'm like,
Well, maybe they'll introduce a new companion.
Classic Who generally companions stayed for most a season and a half. Some stayed for much longer. Sarah Jane, Jamie, Ace, Romana, but that was two people playing the part. K9, same. But it's like, just too long. Please, rid of her. Replace with someone else. Replace her with a little old lady.
Actually, I would. I would like a companion kind of like Evelyn Smith.
Yeah.
And if you don't know who she is, you need to listen to some of the Sixth Doctor Big Finish episodes.
Yeah, or here's a random idea. Replace her with a companion, an older companion from like Classic Who theoretically, the actor's still alive, and could be picked up again as an older person. Joe?
Tegan, or who was the other one? Yes. Well, no, Jo Grant is really old though.
Well, she's fine. Joe Grant, but Tegan, yeah, she's
No, but
she's mostly retired from acting. But there's a lot of people.
Ace is still alive. Sophie Aldred, she's
Yep.
still alive. Nicola Bryant's still out there. Perry could come back.
Yeah, but if
That'd
they
be
do
totally
that,
awesome.
then we have to be all like, "Oh, Perry didn't die in Mind Warp, and it's so much worse if she didn't die." Mind Warp had a really good, strong ending for her, and then
Oh, because the Doctor.
yeah, but then in the last episode of Trial of a Time, where they're like, "By the way, Perry's still alive. She married Brian Blessed," and the Doctor's like, "Okay, I'll take your word for it. I'm not going to check. Doo-doo-doo-doo. I'll assume she's happily married to Brian Blessed." And it's like
Our marriage is
that,
alive.
that's really, really horrible on multiple levels. The Doctor wouldn't check that. The Doctor doesn't care if she's happy or not. She was rescued by this sort of barbarian king, and then she arbitrarily married
Yeah, but
him.
maybe he felt guilty about it. Maybe he was like, I should leave her be because her being with me is only made me
Yeah, but she was rescued by a misogynistic, tribal barbarian king, sort of Conan the Barbarian type, and then immediately she marries him. This indicates to me that she was forced against her will, and the Doctor
That's the
doesn't
point.
bother to check. So, just for my own peace of mind, I stick with Mind Warp, which is a really strong ending where Perry is dead, and the Doctor was being lied to an off-screen check.
But
Although
still, they could bring
Big
somebody
Finish
back.
disagrees.
I vote for Ace. I vote for Ace. Ace should
Ace
come
could
back.
come back. Mel could come back. There's a bunch of people from.
Yeah, but people don't like Mel though.
Yeah, but she's improved.
So there would be an outcry.
They could even have a new incarnation of Romana.
Yeah, that's true. That'd be great.
The third Romana in Big Finish is Drusilla from Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Oh, cool. There's a lot of stuff that they could do.
Yeah. The
But probably won't happen because Stephen Moffat hates.
part of the rumor that has now been shot down, but the rumor where the Clara is leaving in episode 3 or so happened was that Missy would become the companion for a few episodes.
Oh, that would be so good. Like there'd be like some reason why she had to travel with a doctor, and they both didn't like it, but they both had to do it.
But see, that'd be fine. But the thing about they've announced that Clara's staying for the next season, but they announced that Matt Smith was going to stay for season 8.
That's true.
So the Moffat lies. Just say that much. So we'll see.
Everyone lies. quote Doctor
Although they
House.
start filming in January, so if she is going to go, if she does leave partway through, we'll know about it probably in
Yeah.
like April.
I'm annoyed that now we have to wait until next September. That's almost a year. What are we going to talk about on the show for the next nine
We could
months?
choose another show to talk to watch.
Oh, I guess so. That's
But
true.
just have to think about subjects.
But you know, we're only going to end up talking about two things. That's Dragon Age and Doctor
We
Who.
talked about musicals.
Yeah, but we also talked about
We
Doctor
could
Who.
do a theme month like we did with Dracula, but with other genres. We could watch Ed Wood films.
Meh, meh, meh. We should have other people on the show. We should have some of the new Channel Awesome producers on the show. Let them pimp themselves and their
That'd be
wares.
cool. I'd like that.
Like for example, because I mean, and guys, like if you haven't watched any of the new people, seriously, like go watch their stuff. Like who it was Screen Crashers, right? That did the
Oh, and
cameo for you.
Elfman. Yes, that
Yes,
was Screen Crashers from Timid
I
Jester.
I loved that. That was a great
They are
bit.
brilliant. They took the concept of the gamers where it's like, haha, we're gonna have these people playing an RPG and we're gonna show what happens in the game based on their decisions. But they've taken it and they're using it as a way to critique media. So what the game is whatever they're critiquing, and their discussions are the RPG. So they're all each playing a main character in this, and they're trying to explain the characters, why the character's doing that, and annoying each other and commenting on it. It's a really great idea. I
That's
would
fun
love to work with them at some point, properly.
because their camera is really schwanky too. It's like, oh, look how clear that looks.
Yeah,
Ooh, why hasn't it been
it
like that
looks
ever?
it looks better quality than Elfman. The only issue is the only two options I can think of for actually teaming up with them would be if I physically flew over there and appeared, which would be funny but would be expensive. The other
Yeah,
one
it's
is,
true.
and this is just a random idea I've had, and I don't know how I would do this, but have them be their RPG be my review. Like they are
Hmm,
controlling my review. One of them is playing me as a character.
that'd be interesting. You'd have to write it a
Yeah,
good way. Oh, speaking of going places, because we are starting to get towards the end of the show. I've got it confirmed, and where will we be in January?
we're going to a Kumacon in Galway
Oh, in Galway,
in
don't you know?
like
James Galway stands in the street and plays the flute 24 hours a
it's
day.
the weekend of like the 17th, 18th, 19th. Around then, it's the Saturday, Sunday thing. Then I think we're going down the Friday. It's at the University of Galway, I believe, and I'm going to do a panel on obscure movies. I've been told to make it a little less sexually explicit than the time I did it at BroCons, and I'm changing some of the films. So goodbye, Monster Man, and possibly goodbye, Father's Day. Hello, Manborg.
Oh,
They asked me to
boy.
put a couple of Japanese films in there because they're primarily an anime anime sort of one. So
Movie Bad
I'm gonna put
Smiles!
Wild Zero in there probably.
Haha, Wild Zero. I saw that mini
Yeah,
movie
I
as well.
basically talk about crazy film, show clips, discuss crazy films with them. It's what I do because I'm silly.
So, if you're on the island of Ireland, if you're in the UK, if you're somewhere in Europe and you can get to a Kumacon, I don't think they're sold out. You can still buy
Yep.
tickets online. If you want to come see us and be like, oh my gosh, how you guys doing? I'll be like, oh my gosh, how you doing? We'll hug and we'll hang
Yep,
out. We'll have a drink or
it'll
something
be
in
us
between.
two, it'll be Teddy, it'll be the Hour 30s of Humor. This is the first time I've managed to drag Teddy to one of these cons.
It's probably because we're like, Teddy, it's about anime, and his little and Teddy went up. It's like anime. What?
Well,
What?
BroCon's with anime, but he never managed to go to there.
Hmm.
So this is the first time. So it'll be four of us from the show. It'll be a lot of fun, I hope. Oh yes, and they have in Galway. There's Dungeons and Donuts, which is the world's greatest game shop slash donut shop.
What? What is this
And
madness?
they went to BroCon one year selling like trays and trays of nerd themed donuts, and they were brilliant. Like yeah,
Terrible.
this is more like Krispy Kreme or what do you call the other one? Dunkin' Donuts.
Guys, if you love me, you'll send me some Dunkin' Donuts via airmail, overnight,
But
international overnight service. Send me the
but for
donut.
40K fans. Okay, when I had some Dungeons and Donuts in BroCon, they had a lemon meringue pie donut, which was called the Lemon Russ.
I
Warhammer
don't like that
40,000 fans are giggling right now.
Oh, for Christ's sake!
Well, they had a basic donut, it was called the One Ring Donut. It was a work of art, and I really hope they go. I don't know for sure they're going, but it's the same town, so they better fucking go
We'll find a taxi.
if
We'll get out there.
necessary.
And now it's time for that part of the show that we couldn't get rid of, even though we tried. It's Giovanni's trivia question. And Giovanni, are you with us today?
Yeah, well, here I am. So, I'm pleased to let you know that we did finally get an answer for last week's trivia question. And it did come from everybody's favorite German, Der Kork. Der Kork knew that when Michael Jackson wrote his autobiography, he had a very special editor. And who was it? It was Jackie Onassis Kennedy. But that makes the correct my favorite memo of this week. So this week's trivia question is, those the hybrid car. They're really big now in America and other parts of the world. So there's one, the Toyota Prius. Now, what is the official Toyota endorsed plural of the word Prius? What is the official pronunciation of the plural of Prius? So, if you know, as soon as this goes up on Blip, be the first person to tweet at the Omega Geek. That is at the Omega Geek with the correct answer, and you will be my favorite mammal of the week. So, how about that? So, anyway, that's been me. It's time that I scuttle off. I want to say a happy Christmas to everyone, a happy Hanukkah, a Merry Kwanzaa, and anything else that you celebrate. You rock the shit out of it, everyone, and have the best New Year ever.
Damn right, Lobster. Damn right.
That's enough, Lobster. That's enough.
That'll do, quick. So anyway, this has been episode